Let's do it.
What's up, YouTube? I finally made it, man. I finally made it to YouTube. We finally gonna get the channel started. I'm so glad we here. I struggled with it for a while because I wasn't sure whether if I wanted to do it or not. Because it's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. But I've had numerous people tell me, "Oh, you're such a good speaker, and you're so well spoken, and you're so articulate in the way you say things and how you talk about certain topics and issues." So I was like, man, I wasn't sure if I was wanting to do it or not, but I'm here, man. The name of the new channel is Double XL Media, and we're gonna push it, man. We hope that y'all like it. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. We gonna do it, man. We're gonna talk about sports. We're gonna talk about history. We may dig into some hot news topics. Maybe that's worth talking about. We're not just gonna be getting into anything. We're gonna talk about some stuff, but we're gonna do it, man. We're gonna do it, and this is the first show, and I hope y'all like it. This is the pilot show, and the name of the first show is gonna be called America. It's going to be called America, and it's going to be called America, but it's going to be called the Foundation of Black Americans of America. And I wanted to talk about that because I always wonder, when we use the term African American. And before we get started, let me give some shout outs to some of the people who mentored me and brought me along. I'm gonna give some shout outs. These names may ring some bells to y'all. Man, I like to give a shout out to the Black Dot. The Black Dot brought me here, man. The Black Dot raised me. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to the Black Dot, man. He pretty much put me on when I first came to YouTube, and I started watching videos, and I started watching the Black Dot. He was just telling me how to dig deeper and use your third eye, and I can appreciate that. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed. I have to give props where it's due. This man's history intellect is amazing. I have to say that. It's beautiful. Now, do I get caught up into his personal life and what he got going on, or who he hate, or how he used the word tethers or whatever? I don't get caught up into that. I'm not into that. I believe that we do have African roots, but we have not been in Africa in years, hundreds of years. So, as Tariq Nasheed would say, and I agree, we had a ethnogenesis. We are a whole new, I don't want to use the word breed, if you will. I don't want to use the word breed, but we had an ethnogenesis. We don't have that African phenotype. If you look at us and you look at a continental African, we look totally different. And some of that is due to mixing with the European race. A lot of our ancestry, that comes along with it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us have European traits where some of our ancestors slept and mated and had children with the slave masters of white people. We were all mixed in. So I'm not here to bash Africans, so I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to talk about history and shed some light on what Foundation of Black Americans are and who we are. And that's not to say that we are the superior race or we're better than anybody. I believe that everybody contributed something to America, whether it be the white Anglo race, Foundation of Black Americans, Red Dot Native, black natives, we all Oriental, Asian, all those people, we all added something to America. So I'm not trying to say that we did it all, but I just always wonder, like when we would go on field trips as kids, and we would take, because in South Carolina back in the days in elementary school, and that's like the early 80s, we would take trips downtown, and they would take us to these colonial places, and they would show us all of these people from South Carolina who contributed to the state and who did this and who did that, or American history. And as a kid, when we would go in, I would always see they would have these nice picture frames on the walls or the little buildings and stuff, that buildings that was from the 1800s. We would go in there and we would look, and I would always notice that there was never hardly any pictures of us. You you would see people like Jefferson Davis and all these people from the Confederacy and different people like that, George Washington and all them. But I was like, where's our history? Where's our history? So that, and growing up as a kid, history always fascinated me. I was always fascinated by history because I believe that how can you know where you're going if you never knew where you came from? That's just logical. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a past. Everybody has a history. So history always fascinated me. So that's what I want the first show to be about. I think it couldn't be more beautiful than starting the show with that. Oh, and by the way, these are the new shirts. These are going to be the new shirts. If you like what your boy's spitting and you like what I'm talking about, purchase a shirt. Okay, everybody has merch. We know everybody got the cups and the hats and shirts. But if you like the way it look, if you like the T-shirt or whatever, support your boy. I'm here to get it right, man. So support your boy. So not further ado, let's get started, man. Let's talk about it. Let's get deep. Let's get deep. And what I like to do is when I spit facts, because that's what they are, and some of it is historical facts and some of it is going to be opinions. Some is maybe allegedly how you feel or how I feel. It may not be true or untrue. Do your research. And like I said, I'm not a racist, because systematic black people cannot be racist. But that's just another topic in itself. But I don't hate white people. I don't look down on white people. I don't hate any race. I think we are all of the human race. But I'll talk about any topic, but I would like to speak on foundational Black American history. I think it is a very unique history that's been overlooked for a long time, that has not been taught in its proper text. Because like I said, when I was in high school, we didn't get all this information. So as I begin to dig deeper, I'm like, wow, where are these people coming from that I keep digging up and these people just pop out their heads like, hey, here I am, you didn't learn about me, huh? So it fascinated me. I was like, man, this man did this and this man did that. And I'm like, cool, man, awesome stuff. So let's get started, man. Let's get started. Okay, everybody like to know what the term foundational Black American means. Foundational Black American means people who were here at the beginning of this country, before there was an America, before the brush was pushed back and the heavy lifting. There were people called foundational Black Americans. These were the people who were already here as natives. They were dark black native so-called Americans. They wasn't that before the name of America was named that, but they were dark people. And if you don't believe me, like I said, get your paper and your pencil, because we're gonna get deep. We gonna get to it. Study, Google, do it. But there were natives already here. If you ever pay attention to the young dudes, I don't like to call them YNs. I know a lot of people call them that. I don't call them YNs. But young Black foundational Americans, they wear what you call wicks. Wicks, real thick wicks. If you look at the wicks, go back and look at the original Seminole native, which Seminole means Cimarron in Spanish, means cimarronos or runaway. Those were the people who mixed in with the natives that were already down in Florida. Those were dark natives, darker than me. These people wore wigs. And then you also had in Florida, you had people called the Black Maroons. Those people lived in the swamps, the dismal swamps. Those were dark-skinned people. And to this day, they still can't figure out how those people lived in the swamps, those black runaway slaves, how did they live in the swamps among alligators, animals? They built whole colonies and villages in the swamps. So I found that to be unique. I mean, we were already here. Go ahead and look at the almanac statues, the big noses. These are historical facts. Now, either that's true or it's not. So some of us were already here already. And then you have people who came in off the slave ships, which were not the actual numbers of what they say. That number was very small. So they brought those people in from the slave ships. So don't get me wrong, some of us did come from Africa. That's where you have the Geechee people, and you have all those people on the eastern shores of America, mostly in the Charleston area, which I believe that my grandmother is probably has some Geechee lineage, because she always spoke in a Geechee tongue. She say, "Boy, I tired," and I ain't her. She would always talk like that. And she would, instead of saying birthday, she would say birthday. So she would use a Geechee tongue. And when we were children, my grandmother used to always come outside at night, and we would stand out in the yard with her, and she would kiss at the moon, and she would say, "Good evening, ma'am." And she said her grandmother taught her that, and her great-grandmother taught her that. And she said, if you look at the moon, there's a woman-like figure looking down at the moon with a bun in the back of her head. Y'all take a look at that. Deep stuff, man. That's what I'm telling y'all. This stuff is deep. And she said that her mother taught her that. My great-grandmother, I think 2 times removed, her name was Spoon. She was a slave woman. Her name was Spoon. And she got that name because during that time, back on the Gullah Islands and stuff, because we do have Gullah lineage, she was a great cook. She was a real good cook, so they gave her the name. They gave her that nickname Spoon because they had to name her. So that's just some of the lineage of how our people were already here, and some was mixed in. That's what a foundational Black American is. And as time went along, we were the people who cleared the brush. We cleared the brush and started giving the structure to America, because beforehand they had colonies who failed. The 13 colonies failed. They tried to build colonies over and over, and they failed. They had this thing called the Great Famine, where they started eating each other. America did not start coming along until we started pushing back the brush. But like I said, I'm not here to say that we are the supreme race or we're better than anybody else, but these are historical facts. That's why I said Google it. Either it's true or not true. So foundational Black Americans play a big role. Just look at the culture. Look at the culture of America. Our roots are so deep in America, but like I said, as a child, we were never taught this. That's why it was amazing to me when I saw it. I was like, man, it's you learn so much till you get overwhelmed. It's our culture is just so rich. Our food, the way we dress, our music. Like if you look at music, blues, jazz, just about every genre of music came out of that. Blues, gospel came out of the blues, and blues came out of gospel. They intermix. It's about pain. That's why when you hear foundational Black American gospel music, it has so much pain in it. It has so much soul and heartfelt pain, because blues came out of that. Jazz and hip hop, all that's our country music is our music. Country music. That's why I said our history is so rich, man. It is, you learn so much till you get overwhelmed, and that's why back when I was younger and I was studying, I used to always be like, man, I don't really care much about the American flag. I was a slave. I don't have that much ties to it. But as I began to study, I was like, wow, This is amazing, man. Now I stand up for the flag and I have a different respect for the flag, because the more you learn, the more you understand that who is more American than foundational Black Americans. Think about this. Now I've said we fit to get deep. We fit to get deep. Get your pencil and paper now. Write the stuff down. Study. If I'm lying, go back and study it. The Revolutionary War. There was a man named Crispus Attucks. He was the first man to die in the Revolutionary War. He took the first bullet. He was on the front line. He was of Native descent, and he was of African foundational Black American descent, which makes him a foundational Black American. Crispus Attucks was the first one to fire a shot in the Revolutionary War, and he was the first to take the bullet. The first. The Revolutionary War is how this country got its independence. You don't get no more American than that. Come on. There was this girl named Grace Wisher. She had a hand in sewing the American flag with her bare hands. Betsy Ross, man, either this is true or false. Allegedly, I could be wrong. She oversaw the project, but the work was done by Grace Wisher, a foundational Black American girl. Now you don't get no more American than that. Now either that's true or false. The first female American soldier was Kathy Williams. She was a Buffalo soldier, but she was smart about it. She used her last name and put it first so they wouldn't suspect that she was a woman. So she used the word Williams Kathy. You can Google that. Either that's true or false. She was the first Black female soldier to ever be on American soil to join the armed forces. Now either that's true or false. You don't get no American. That's why I said foundational Black American history is so beautiful, man. It's just so rich. We are the foundation of this country. Now either you like it or you don't. It's facts. The Civil War, hence the movie Glory, the 54th Massachusetts, but there were way more foundational Black American soldiers who fought in the Civil War. Lincoln himself said, had it not been for the Black freedmen in the Union would not have won the Civil War. Lincoln said that. Either that's true or not true. And I'm going to stop saying that because this stuff is historical facts and I ain't speaking no lies, and I'm not ashamed of my lineage. I'm proud of my lineage. And you should be too, because it's American lineage. So Lincoln said that. Had it not been for the Black freedmen, that's why you had the movie Glory, the 54th Massachusetts with Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington. But there were way more stories than that, because if you think about it, the North would have lost the Civil War. Those Confederate soldiers were kicking their butt. Those good old boys from the backwoods, those sharpshooters and marksmen down there hunting in the South, they were kicking their butt, because you got to think about it. Most of the Civil War was fought in the South. The South Confederate soldiers knew those backwoods. They knew those backwoods. They knew where to go. They knew how the South was set up. They knew all that. So had it not been for foundational Black Americans, they would have lost that war. They would have lost the Civil War. Lincoln himself said that. And speaking of Lincoln, why do you think they called Lincoln? Google this. Why do you think they called Lincoln Abraham Africanus the first? Look up the Mongolians people of sub-African descent in the Appalachian Mountains of Tennessee. Isn't that where Lincoln came from? See, you gotta know a whole lot more about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln ain't who you think he is, buddy. You might want to dig a little deeper about Lincoln. They knew what Abraham Lincoln was and who he was. Why do you think they put him on the brown penny and turned him backwards from the other presidents' heads? Why? Why do you think that if you do a march on Washington, if you protest, you start from George Washington's head and you march to Lincoln's feet? He's at the bottom. Why? when they take pictures of Abraham Lincoln, because that's when the camera was created. Why they always shoot him far away when they take pictures? They know who Abraham Lincoln is. Google the stuff. It's right there for you. It's right there for you. Foundation of Black Americans. Just take a look at our culture. To take a look at the NBA. Would not be the NBA if it hadn't been for Foundation of Black Americans. You know who really got the NBA off the ground? Because when it merged with the ABA with Dr. J, shout out to Dr. J, the NBA, it didn't have much pizzazz. It was just bouncing around and white players bent over. It didn't have much jazz. The Harlem Globetrotters. And then you had a man that came along by the name of Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the Foundation of Black Americans. He is the architect of the NBA. Everything about the NBA, he architected. The way that shoes are designed nowadays, it wouldn't be no LeBron James sneakers, and the way he designed his sneakers and the way he marketed himself. And all that is the blueprint of Michael Jordan. The NBA is the house that Michael Jordan built, the stadiums, the statues outside of the stadium. If I'm not correct, I think Michael Jordan was the first big popular bus stadium outside of basketball arenas. I don't know how long the Lakers had Magic come out there or whatever, but I'm not sure. But even when Magic, they said Magic Johnson played a role in it. And shout out to Larry Bird. You know, like I said, a lot of people contributed to American culture. Larry Bird helped to bring along the white culture in basketball, because the white culture in basketball, they were kind of stiff, to be honest. It wasn't much pizzazz, it wasn't much spark, it wasn't no flashiness. Bird helped spark that, Bird and Magic. But the business side and taking the NBA globally is Michael Jordan, a Foundation of Black American. Now, either that's true or not true. He's the architect of it all. We gonna get deep. We got time. We ain't rushing. We got time today. We gonna get deep. We gonna talk about this Foundation of Black American culture. Michael Jordan. The business-wise and how to market yourself and how to make more money off endorsements than you do in the league. Michael Jordan did that. Yeah. Now, you want to talk about football? Let's talk about football. Back in the early parts of the NFL, the NFL wasn't popular like that with Dick Butkus and all those people back in the early 50s. Football wasn't like that. You know when football had really took off? You know who really put the NFL on the map? And they made a trophy after him. The Man of the Year award. They made a trophy after him. Do your history. We're going to do some research now. We're going to do some. The NFL took off and started getting this flash from a Foundation of Black American by the name of Walter Payton. That's who put the NFL on the map. Now, that's either true or false. That's just my opinion. You may have somebody else that you may say Jim Brown, but Jim Brown bought he bought the toughness to the game. I agree, but the flashiness to make it go global, Walter Payton. The way he would dive and flash and cut and jump over the crowd and how he marketed himself with kangaroo. I know you remember that. Where he wore a headband around his head. Jim Brown didn't do that. He was flashy. You remember We Are the Bears, Shuffling On Down, Shuffling Crew. What they were doing? Rapping. They made a rap song. I'm I'm such and such and I'm so cool. I'll run you down the line, the football line, like you was a fool. That's hip hop culture. That's what the Bears ushered in. Walter Payton was a part of that. That's what put football on the map. That's what made everybody start noticing football. Hey, football is cool. It's cool. It became flashy. Had not been for foundational black Americans like Walter Payton, there would be no Mike Vick. The flashiness. There would be no Randall Cunningham. That made the game exciting. There would be no Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Walter Payton, he ushered in that flashiness. How to be marketed. Him and Refrigerator Perry. This came along in the early 80s. Joe Montana wasn't that flashy. He was dull. Foundation of Black Americans. We revolutionized everything. Golf, Tiger Woods. Golf was boring and it didn't register with people the way it did after Tiger Woods jumped in it. Whether you like it or not, Tiger Woods is a foundation of Black American. His daddy is foundation of Black American. He revolutionized golf. He made golf cool. He made young people want to be a part. Golf is an old man's game. You know the Masters, hence the name. It's the old man's game. Tiger made it flashy. He made it cool. He made young people want to get involved. Baseball, Jackie Robinson, but you knew the real reason why Jackie Robinson went over, because the Negro League was gaining too much ground. See, the Negro League was gaining too much ground, and I'm trying to remember what was the manager name that I'm having old Negro brain. I can't think his name. It'll come back to me. But the guy that put Jackie Robinson on, he knew. They were wondering, wait, why are the white people going to see these Negroes flashing and hitting home runs and dancing and moving around the base? People wanted to see that. White baseball was boring. Babe Ruth was boring. They started losing too much money. The Negro Leagues was making too much money. They was like, nah, we got to get in on this money. We got to integrate. That's what that was about. If they had it their way, you think they would want to integrate baseball? No. It was about the. They knew the value that foundational Black Americans held. We revolutionized baseball. Barry Bonds made it cool. Deion Sanders. Come on, man. You know? We revolutionized the cool sneakers. I could go down the line right now and just name foundation of Black Americans who got some of the best sneakers Nike has ever made. And you tell me when I'm wrong. Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, Ken Griffey Jr., Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I could go on and on and on, man. Deion Sanders. We Penny Hardaway. I can name sneakers for days. We revolutionized everything. Not to brag, we just got a rich culture that's been suppressed for so long, and I'm glad that we're starting to wake up and recognize our culture and be proud of it. Those people worked hard. That's is either true or either false. A shirt ain't a shirt till the Jumpman logo on it. That's foundation of Black American culture. When Tommy Hilfiger made his clothing, who popularized it? Aaliyah, Wu-Tang Clan, Nas. When we left Tommy Hilfiger alone, it ain't been the same since. Who do you think make Polo cool? If we leave it alone, it won't be the same. They know how rich our culture is and how we can take chitlins and make it a delicacy. How they threw away the chicken wings and all they kept was the best part of the chicken, and we made chicken wings a delicacy, a cool dish to eat. That's what we do. We revolutionize everything. We are the very fiber of this country, man. Now this next one might be touchy for some people, but it is true. Foundational Black Americans have never made their own flag, had their own White House, had their own government, and said we don't want to be a part of the country anymore. We have never done that. That's either true or false. We have went abroad and fought for this country and came back here and still wasn't treated with the rights and the proper respect that we should have gotten. And we still love this country. You don't get no more American than that. There's pictures of soldiers in World War II that got their guns pointed at the Nazis and got them on their knees, taken captive. You don't get no more American than that. That's either true or false. We are the very fiber of this country, man. We created family reunions. That came from us because we were sold and divided in this country, and in order to find each other, we had something called a family reunion. Memorial Day. We did that because the black soldiers were coming back from war. They wasn't getting the proper respect that they did. So we said, let's memorialize them. That created Memorial Day. That's either true or false. Go look up who revolutionized the modern day shoe sneaker. Go see who created, because I don't want to tell you, I want you to look it up yourself. Who created the first modern video game? Look up Elijah McCoy. Back when white people went into the general store, they said, I want the real McCoy. The real McCoy meant that they wanted the real stuff, not the generic knockoff. Elijah McCoy made the best inventions. That's a foundation of Black America. Look up Granville T. Woods, the railroad. The train, the steam engine. They make the train run off a steam engine. They say the Orientals built the railroad, but if the Orientals built the railroad like that, where did they get the folk story from of John Henry? John Henry was this big black man, foundation of Black American, who built the railroad. He was so big, they said that he built half of the railroad by himself. He was so huge. That's a folklore of how much we did for the railroad industry in building it. That's either true or false. That's how you got. That's what the story of John Henry is about, working on the railroad. There's nothing we didn't do in this Benjamin Banneker. Not only did he do the clock, that's why you got the Big Ben in England. They ain't gonna tell you that though. They ain't gonna tell you that he architected just about over half of Washington D.C. Lewis Latimer, the light bulb, the filament, brought us out the dark into the light. And the telephone too, by the way, he did that, but we couldn't own patents, and they created the patent office. But I'm not throwing slam. I'm just giving you foundational Black American history. Google this stuff. How you can talk on a phone over Wi-Fi. the phone chip, the ironing board, the first lawnmower. Ain't nothing we ain't do. The AC that you enjoy, the habit you enjoy. Black woman, foundation of Black American. Google the Patterson Motor Company. Ford didn't create no vehicle. Ford get credit for mass production, but you know who Ford homeboy was? George Washington Carver, a botanist. They just want to give him credit for the peanut. But why do you, if Ford get credit for mass production, why do they call the building that they do the mass production in, why do they call it a plant? We gonna get deep. We got time today. Look up the Patterson Motor Company. Look up Richard T. Spikes. We ain't supposed to be driving Fords. We're supposed to be driving Spikes. But they only want to give them credit for the automatic transmission. That is the car, ain't that's how the car moves? We got time today. Let's talk about it, man. That's the stuff that I was robbed of as a child. I didn't learn about that stuff. And if I figured if I would have learned about that stuff, you know how much more pride we would have had as foundation of Black Americans? So much more. So much more. The movie Hidden Figures, how those women did the mathematics so they could send them out into space. Foundation of Black Americans. There ain't nothing that we didn't do in this country, man. We the moral fiber of this country. Country music was ours. Rock and roll. You know all the rock and roll names. I don't need to get into that. We did rock and roll first. Oh, speaking of music, you might want to dig into Elvis history too. I was speaking earlier about Abraham Lincoln and the Mongolian people and the Appalachians in Tennessee. Go back and dig into Elvis history. Y'all really look at Elvis? Look at Elvis speeches. Take a good look at Elvis. That's either true or not true. You think Elvis could dance like that by accident? We gonna get into it. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. Yeah. It's nothing in this country that we did not do. We are the moral fiber of this country, and they know it. That's why they keep it suppressed, keep it away from you. The way you get your U.S. mail, you better look up Stagecoach Mary. Your U.S. mail system, foundation of Black Americans. I'm telling y'all, our culture. Don't let nobody boo-boo on our culture, man, and tell us we ain't do nothing and we ain't do this and we just niggas. We YNs. We way more than that, bro. This traffic light. We just, everywhere you look, we got a hand in it. I could go on and on and on. The first education department, we created it after Reconstruction. There was no education department. And we don't even need to go into foods. Why do you think they kept us in their kitchen cooking? We don't need to go into foods. That's what makes us different. We have a unique culture. We just different. Name the African Beyonce. Name the African Michael Jordan. Name the African Michael Jackson. Come on, man. Name the African Martin Luther King. Name the African Malcolm X. Which his daddy was foundational Black American, by the way. They want to say that he's not a foundational Black American, but he is. And shout out to Africans. Guy ain't got no but love for Africans. Nothing but love for them. I'm sure they contribute something, but I'm talking about my lineage. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. They want to say the Wright brothers was the first one to fly. Go back and Google who was the first to fly. Deep into that. I want y'all to do it. That's who we are, man. And no this and no not nobody else's culture. But that's who we are. Madam C.J. Walker. She revolutionized the way you do hair care products, beauty and skin care. They know who we are. We don't. We don't take time out to study and look around. That's who we are. The very fiber of this country. That's why now I don't sit down for the flag. Cause I know what's behind that flag. I know the culture. I know it's bigger than that. I know we have a true rich history. If we only take time to look and dabble in it and get consumed in it and study it, you'll get a better understanding of who you are in this country. You can hold your head high. You can say, I'm a foundational Black American. I come from a rich history. See? Listen to the words. Listen to the words of the national anthem. Land of the free, home of the brave. Who was brave enough to try to be free in this country? I'll wait. We come from a lineage of Medgar Evers, writers. You know what I'm saying? Strong people. We everywhere. The name California is Califia. They say it's a mythological black queen. We everywhere. Hockey. Go back and look at who played the first hockey games. There's nothing we didn't do. And you can ask ChatGPT. Chat got to tell you. It seems like she don't want to. Yes, you're correct. Such and such was the first black to do such and such. They have to say it now. They can't hide it no more. See? You are more than just niggas and YNs and baby mamas and thoughts and scallywags and all these old stupid names. We way much more than that, man. Way much more. We can take anything and revolutionize it. I went to my nephew played college football, and I went to the football game, and I was sitting in the stadium. You know what music they just about played the whole time? Hip hop. Just about everybody in the stadium walk around trying to sound like us. They love our culture. We don't. But a lot of us are starting to wake up, and a lot of us are starting to gatekeep, and a lot of us are starting to really appreciate our culture. And I'm glad. I knew this Renaissance movement was going to come, and a lot of people go around saying that because the term Foundation of Black American is coming about, is saying that we hate Africans, but we don't. Because if you go back and you look, go back to the early '90s. We embraced Africa. We wore the African medallion around our neck. They had the Nike Air Raid that was pushed by Spike Lee with the African print on it. They had the African print on the Air Raid. They had all that. In our TV shows, Bill Cosby, Different World, they had Africans in there talking about Africa and stuff like that. He had people from different, Bill Cosby would have people from the diaspora in his TV show. Like his friends would come by to play chess and knuckleball. They had accents. So we always reached out to Africa. We always reached out to Africa. But now that we starting to realize we're Jareers and Akadas and stuff like that, and we got two baby mama and all that, and you black niggas and all that, and you work hard and all that, we starting to see all that. We embrace y'all, but y'all be biting our hand. You know? And it's not all of them, you know? It's not everybody. You know? But I'm kind of glad we are waking up, and we are not letting everybody feed off our culture and just drag our culture through the mud, and then they get to do whatever they want to do with it. I'm kind of glad, you know. But like I said, did everybody contribute to America? Yeah, of course they did. That's the beauty of it. It's a melting pot. Everybody contributes something. But I would like to highlight my culture. My culture is unique. My culture is beautiful. I love my culture. I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. My culture is powerful. You see what happened with the Montgomery boycott system? It shut down almost a whole state. They had to do something. That's the power of our culture is so powerful. They have to bring out, when we do things in March, they bring out militarily wise equipment for us. That's how powerful we are. They know it. They know it. Where you think the term tall, dark, and handsome came from? They want to say it's for a black man's hair. I beg the difference. But that's another show within itself. That's another show within itself. Because we know what been going on the plantation when old Massa went off. When old Massa went off to do his business in Virginia, and he was down in South Carolina. He went up to Virginia for 2 or 3 weeks. And the Missy been home by herself hot. But we knew what time it was. She was looking for tall, dark, and handsome. But that's neither here nor there. That's another show. But I wanted this to be the first show I want to talk about America and the foundation of Black Americans. A unique, beautiful lineage that I've grown to be proud of as I studied over the years. I no longer feel that way about the American flag. I love the American flag. That's my flag. That's my history. And it's beautiful. I can't turn a nose up at those men who died in the Civil War, those black freedmen. I can't turn my nose away and look away for the people who did all these inventions for me that I could live comfortable, that were foundation of Black Americans. I can't forget Walter Payton and Michael Jordan, those people who revolutionized what we enjoy as sports. And Michael Jackson, that every time you turn the music on, his music feel like it's the first time. I can't look away from that. That's a beautiful culture, the foods we enjoy. Nobody can do what we can do with a pork pig or chickens. Nobody. It's a beautiful culture, man. I don't mind people partaking in it and enjoying it. I love it. Just respect it. Everybody else's culture gets respected. The white culture gets respected. The Jewish culture gets respected. And touche. I'm not mad at that. That's how it's supposed to be. Do I enjoy some things that white culture has put in this country? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Nobody hating nobody. Everybody's culture is different. But this is what I wanted the first show to be about. Thank y'all for watching. Like I said, man, it's gonna be way more stuff, man. We're gonna dabble into religion, because I know that's a touchy subject, but we're gonna dabble into religion. We're gonna talk about who Jesus Christ really was. Not this man who laid on his back and hover in the air when he sleep. Nah, we ain't doing that, bro. We're gonna talk about the real Jesus Christ. Back when there was when that continent wasn't even called Africa or the Middle East. We're going back. We're gonna walk with him. Like Kanye West said, we're gonna walk with him. And we're gonna get deep. We're gonna find out what this man ate, what he enjoyed in his leisure time. Did he have company? What he did with his homeboys, that's called the 12 disciples. We're going to break it down that way. We're not going to do it in the thus thou. If you're looking for that, you at the wrong channel, bro. We're going to get down. We're going to, like that stuff I was talking about, we're going to do it individually. And we're going to talk about some great white people who did some good things, you know. I'll go there. I'll go there. One of my favorite people in history is John F. Kennedy. I always admire John F. Kennedy. We're going to dig in his life. We're going to get down. We're going to get down. So y'all come on back, man. The channel going to be hitting. Come on back. Like, share, subscribe. When you get the merch out, y'all, if you like what your boy kicking, get a shirt. When they say, hey, man, who's that? Double XL Media, my man, Brother Tony. He be getting down. He kicks some real stuff. So I'll see y'all on the next one. Thank y'all for tuning in to the pilot, the first episode. And guess what? I'm gonna see y'all the next time. Peace.